Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with another range report. A range report on a really cool rifle that I didn't even know existed before I was able to borrow this from one of my local subscribers, Matt. Now, Matt has been so kind in the past to let me borrow a few of his other guns for some range reports recently, and he brought me this. He said, I want your opinion, Jason. Does this gun appeal to AK owners or AR owners or both? Well, this is the M+M Incorporated M10X. It's a rifle chambered in 7.62 by 39 and borrows heavily from a number of guns. I think mostly the AK-47, the AR-15, the SIG 550, and maybe something like the Bushmaster ACR or a Brugger and Tomet style of gun. But mainly I think it borrows from the AK platform. This is supposed to be kind of one of those guns that bridges the two, that it's supposed to appeal to both AK and AR guys. I would say that its main competition is going to be the CMMG Mutant, which is really more of an AR that masquerades itself as an AK. I think this is really more of an AK that masquerades itself as an AR. But as I mentioned, because it bridges both guns, you might not have an audience that's happy that comes from either camp. But how did it shoot at the range? Let's just talk about the range report first. It shot fantastic, okay? I know I say that about a lot of guns, but this one really did. Shot about 200 to 250 rounds through this thing at the range, did some mag dumps. The trigger on this thing is excellent. It's definitely better than your standard AK trigger. The groupings were very tight. Now granted, I was not able to extend the ranges out past 25 yards. I only had the option of shooting at an indoor range. I could only go out to 25, so it's not like I was able to really use the ballistics of the 7.62 by 39 to its fullest extent. So all of my impressions are going to come from very close ranges. But groupings were great, ran very reliably. I didn't have any failures to feed, failures to eject, no issues whatsoever, no stovepiping. It ran like a top. So I don't know if 250 rounds on one range trip is really enough to say it's a very reliable gun. Probably not. But from my experience, for just a random guy shooting a gun that I'd never shot before, didn't even know existed, ran fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. So let's talk about a few things that I've discovered about this gun that I like and a few things that I don't like. Let's talk about some things I like first. Number one, although it borrows from the AK platform, it does use a monolithic upper receiver, which I think is really nice. It gives the gun a very attractive look and borrows, I think, much from things like the Bushmaster ACR or a Brugger and Tomet style of gun. So you have M-lock slots all over the sides of this thing and underneath, and you have a Picatinny rail here at the top, so mounting optics. And so this type of a setup is going to give you plenty of options for accessories and allow you to mount optics in the back, where traditionally on AKs, because they have the top cover, which can wobble a bit and not hold zero, this allows you to mount an optic directly to the top of the gun and not have to worry about a mount that maybe comes off from the side of the gun. So I think this is a fantastic upgrade from a gun like the AK-47. Another thing I really like about this gun is the reversible charging handle. Now, I kept the charging handle on the right side, which is very typical of an AK gun. Because it is 7.62 by 39, and this gun, I think, when you hold it and shoot it, you go, yeah, it's really more of an AK. However, I like guns that charge from the left-hand side. And to change this, all you have to do is push in the button on the charging handle, rotate the knob, and you can simply pull this thing out, put it in on the other side, and then you push in on it and rotate it again, and then you're good to go. And if you want to charge the gun, you can from the left-hand side. That is really, really cool. I like that a lot. Another thing I like, and this is where it's trying to bridge the gap between the AK and the AR, it does use AR style controls. While it doesn't have the exact manual of arms of an AR, it does get rid of the dust cover type selector switch on the AK and gives you an AR style safety selector switch on the side, which does have ambi controls. I like that a lot. Another thing, it does use the Magpul Zhukov stock, which you can fold to the side if that's something you care about. And obviously it is telescoping as well if you want to pull that out. Now, Some other guns that this thing borrows from, as I mentioned, is the SIG 550. It has a, even though I guess it would technically be a short stroke gas system, because in theory, the piston does not directly connect to the bolt carrier, but it is connected using the charging handle. So it is spring loaded. It's a very interesting system. And I think one of the downsides to this gun would be the fact that if this company ever went out of business, you're going to be really hard to find any replacement parts for this. And that's one of the things that I would warn people about from buying this. While I think this gun is worth every penny, and I want to say the MSRP in this thing is like $1,400 or $1,500, I think you get more gun than what you pay for this thing. However, I don't think the aftermarket support for this thing would be continuous if that company went out of business, because this is a very proprietary rifle. So how would you ever get springs, replacement charging handles? I don't know. I think that would be a downside to this. Is it a deal breaker? Probably not, because the gun seems to be so durable. Now, a few things about this gun I don't like. Number one is the weight. This gun is very heavy for both an AR and an AK. Now, typically the AKs are heavier. This thing is even heavier than that. It might have to do with the fact it does have that monolithic upper receiver. You got the stamped sheet metal lower receiver. All the internal parts, of course, are going to be stainless. You got a big old barrel out here. I don't know. It feels like a very, very heavy rifle to me. Now, I don't have a scale to put this on or anything, but it's definitely heavy. Now, how does that help us though? It does help mitigate the recoil of 7.62 by 39. I would say the recoil impulse of this gun, very close, or very much like an AR-15, but I think it has to do with the weight. It's very front heavy. When my wife held it, she kind of felt like it was too heavy in the front, and she could only shoot it for just a little bit before getting tired due to that weight. So I think the weight is a huge downside to this. Now, another thing, the M-LOK slots. Yes, we have M-LOK slots all over this thing to add any type of accessory, lights, lasers, whatever. The accessory slots on the top here are lies. They are milled out and are M-LOK spec. However, there's a heat shield underneath the Picatinny rail underneath here. You can't actually mount anything to these top slots. I think if you just needed gas, venting slots or something to cool, help cool the gun, they should have milled them a different way, so you don't even attempt to try to put on anything M-LOK up here. I actually tried to mount an Enforce light from that, and I had some issues because I realized there's a heat shield under here. You cannot get those M-LOK bolts and nuts to actually grab hold because you can't get them in far enough around that heat shield. So I think they should have done something a little bit different with this upper receiver right here. Let's see, something else. I think that's really about it. Oh yeah, the magazines. Now, the magazines, of course, it uses standard AK pattern magazines here, which just use the basic rock and lock system, which I really like. And if you're used to AK style guns, you'll be used to that. And also, it uses all those AK mags that you already have. So if you're an AK guy, you already got all the magazines you need for this thing. Now, I did have one problem. I did notice that the magazine well in this thing, it's a little bit big, so it wobbles. And typically on the Magpul mags, all of my AKs, I don't get any wobble. This has a little bit of wobble, didn't affect reliability. However, when I was trying to do magazine changes at the range and I got my shooting hand on the grip, I noticed that if I came in at just the wrong angle, it won't go in. Here it is right now. And I got kind of used to it with a little bit of practice, but at the range, I would drop the magazine, put in a new one, and if it's just tilted just in the wrong direction, I couldn't get it to lock in. I was having some problems with that. I didn't put any of that in the shooting video that was at the beginning, but I did have some issues with that. As I said, I don't know if it's just practice, but along with having to hold up a much heavier gun, having to put in a magazine that's fully loaded, I don't know, I just had some issues putting that thing in. But that's the only issue I really had there. The gun does hinge apart more like an AR. So the way that you would do that, you would fold the Zhukov stock here. And there's a little latch right here. You push in, and then the gun would simply hinge just like a regular AR-15. So to answer Matt's question, does this appeal to an AR owner? I don't think so. For me, this is one of those, it really is kind of the best of both worlds, but it's not the best of either, that I think somebody that's either from the AK camp or the AR camp is going to be 100% happy with. So I think this is definitely going to appeal more to AK owners that want something that feels a little bit more modernized than an AK. But most of the time people that like AKs like them because they kind of have that antiquated feel, you know, a little bit older technology that just runs well. But I don't know. It's definitely a high quality rifle. I definitely think it's worth the price point. It ran great for me. I have really nothing that I say would be a deal breaker about it, except maybe the aftermarket support if the company ever went under. So that's it. So this is the M+M Incorporated M10X rifle, chambered in 7.62 by 39. A really, really cool gun. Didn't even know existed. Bridging that gap between AR and AK, as I've mentioned before. Super happy with it. I don't know personally if it has a place in my collection. As I said, it just kind of blends the two, and maybe that doesn't make anybody happy. You know, it's like people that just ride the, centrist political spectrum. You know, you get liberals that are mad at them, you get conservatives that are mad at them. You can't please everybody. And so who knows? I will say there's one thing about this gun, and it's not even, actually it's not even part of the gun, but Matt let me borrow. Also was this very tiny ACOG here. It's like a mini ACOG. It's a 3x30. And it is, the reticle is designed and calibrated towards the 7.62 by 39 cartridge. I really, really like this optic. This thing was really nice. For being such a narrow and small ACOG, it's great, has a nice field of view. I didn't have any problem with the eye relief. Very, very pleased with that. Pretty expensive. I looked them up online. So I think it works really, really well for this gun. And I think it's really kind of fitted for this gun because not only is it the reticle for 7.62 by 39, because you got this monolithic upper receiver, it can mount to it and hold zero, I think a lot better than it would on a regular AK pattern rifle. So how would I give it in my little star system? I'm going to say, overall, I have to think about this one for a second. I should have thought about it before I filmed the video. I'm going to give it 4 stars out of 5. It's too heavy. It's not AR enough for me to love it. It's not AK enough for me to love it. But it's definitely well built, well finished, well designed. I love the fact it has like the SIG 550 gas system. Very easy to access, very easy to clean. I love how it hinges open. Love the stock. I like so much about this gun. But it's not unique enough to be its own thing. And I don't know, it just bridges that gap between too many rifles. But I could definitely see where somebody would really like this. And I do not think the high price point on it would be a detraction. I don't think that you get less than what it's worth. This thing is definitely a $1,500 rifle. Is it the rifle for you? I don't know. Is it the rifle for me? Probably not, but I would definitely give this thing a good look over if I ever saw one for sale for the right price. It is pretty nice. So there you go. 4 stars out of 5 on the M10X, chambered in 7.62 by 39. Really cool rifle, and I'm very thankful to Matt for letting me borrow this. This has been a great experience to get to review this. So anyway, there's my thoughts, things I like, things I don't like, and how it ran at the range. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have a rifle that's like this, maybe the CMG Mutant, what you think. Do you have an M10X? Let me know what you think. So anyway, there you go. So let me know if you have any questions. And as always, thanks for watching.